It is Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's time for another Auburn family night where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about anything within the Auburn experience that you want to talk about. It's all about your calls, your comments, and your questions. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, however you got here through YouTube, through the Book of Face, through all the different things out there that you can do to access this show. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As I addressed at the top of the show, this is the Auburn family live stream. Every single Wednesday night, we've been doing this since the dawn time at 8 p.m. And we love this each and every week because our informal just get together, sit down, and talk about what we want to talk about. Mainly what you all want to talk about. I always say this is my most favorite time of the week because I got to do very little to prepare for this show other than just, be ready to talk and interact with you guys. So I mean, that makes me sound lazy, but I enjoy the camaraderie and getting together with all of you and just hearing what you want to talk about on these shows. So we'll get into all of that. As I had mentioned, it is a call-in show. So we'll open that up in just a second. Let's get our show started. As we always do, this is relevant for you, whether you're on the replay or you are here watching live. If you could start us out on a good note by smashing the like button. If you enjoy the content, if you don't feel like we've earned it, that's understandable. But if you feel like we have, that is a huge help to get the show started off with. And it's also helpful to let us know who's here, especially if you're watching live. You can check in if you're watching on the replay. Post where you're watching from, your city, your state. If you're international, do that as well. And would love to know who's here hanging out with us tonight. So we've got several topics as you guys kind of get warmed up that I'll kind of put us in prep mode for. Obviously, we're in the middle of baseball and softball getting towards the postseason. So there's a lot of that. Big weekend for Auburn. It's graduation, exam week right now and graduation week coming up for Auburn. Football and basketball transfer portal continues to heat up. The big talk today on social media is of a certain quarterback now possibly getting closer to making a decision for Auburn, and a tradition being extended over to the Auburn baseball team that has long been reserved for football games. And I don't think anything else. I think this is probably the only other event. But anyway, those are some of the topics that we can hit tonight. But really, it's about what you want to discuss. So we're going to bounce all over the place tonight. And you can participate by dropping comments and questions in the chat, especially if you're watching live. Remember, if you're some people do this, so I always have to give the reminder. If you're on the replay, we may not be able to respond live to you. I don't think some people understand that sometimes. I have to remind you. But if you are live, you can start commenting right now, and we'll address some of those things. We are also going to open up the phone lines right now. It's listed at the top of the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on Facebook or somewhere else, you're going to have to come to YouTube to access that. Click the link. You can be on camera if you want to, or off camera. If you don't want to have your face shown, that's understandable. But please do call in tonight if you've got something that you just want to chat about and hang out about. Would love to see some of your smiling faces or hear your voices. Got a few people checking in. Thomas Manville, good to see you, sir. Thanks for hanging out. Yes, it's been a crazy day out there, Neil. He and I don't live too far from each other. We don't know exactly where the other lives, but we know it's in the earshot of each other, probably. Yes, you stay safe as well, my friend. And we got Willie checking in on Facebook from Opelika, right there in the backyard of Auburn. So good to have someone representing there. And Pensacola, Florida, represented with Dusty here tonight. Dusty, I know you've got I've seen some of your stuff on social media. I hope you're doing okay, buddy. I know it's been a rough go and things like that, but hopefully we can cheer you up tonight. So with that being said, we're kind of wound up, warmed up. Let's get into it. What is on y'all's mind tonight? I can jump right into it if you would like me to. In fact, I don't have anything. So that's a little bit of housekeeping thing there. I forgot as I knocked the camera around a little bit too. I was trying to remember to have something ready for myself. But anyway, let me jump right into the big topic right off at the front while you guys kind of get your comments geared up here. Quarterback, Auburn. Last night, we had a live stream discussing TJ Finley deciding to leave officially the team. And now we shift our gears to who will fill his spot, because it's not a question of is there a quarterback coming now with the spot open? You got to fill it. Well, you don't have to, but the conventional thinking is that you'd fill it. Last night when we were discussing, it seemed like Casey Thompson of Nebraska was the heir apparent to that spot. Whether you buy into it or not, the talk on social media today is, I keep wanting to call him Patrick for some reason, but Peyton Thorne of Michigan State. Now, we have had certain people and entities doing way too much research trying to figure out, is there some truth to this? Some people, I think, went to his personal Instagram account, saw he's now following certain Auburn accounts. Look, folks, sometimes that's an indicator. Sometimes it's not. I would not put your stock in that. If you just want to do it to have fun, sure, why not? But that's not an indicator that that someone's coming to Auburn. That's happened for several other recruits. A lot of times they follow the people that they're at least interested in, just so that they can have a close connection to them. But right now, if you take what certain media entities and such share online, that seems to be the way it is shifting. I will tell you this: the Michigan State fans are ruining they're creating ill will, I should say, with me. I, for the longest time, have been a Michigan State fan. In fact, there are a lot of times I'd see a Michigan State fan and I'd go do their cheer for them, go green, and they yell, go white, even though I'm not one of their fans, just because I was endeared toward them because of the 2013 year where they beat Ohio State to put us in the national title game. Yes, it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but we still got there because they beat Ohio State. So I was forever indebted to them. But they apparently are acting a fool online as of late. And if that's the case, and I've seen some of it, tread lightly, my friends. You don't want to make an enemy of the Auburn family. And me too. I'm kidding. I'm not going to really get all that twisted about it, but it is fun to still have fun with that and also see some of the things that rise up for certain fan bases for odd reasons. He's making the decision to leave if he does. I don't know why I had Dusty up there the entire time, but I did. So there's Dusty. That's what happens when I get on a ramble and I don't pay attention to the comments I've got pulled up still on there. Leighton says, I know you don't like to speculate, Kyle. I do like to speculate. Where'd you get that? I do like to speculate, but I've heard it said by several different people, so I'm not going to quote one person. And this is true of sports, politics, religion, all that stuff. It is okay to speculate as long as you acknowledge that you are speculating. I think that's what missed a lot of times, especially in discussions around sports too. Oh, my source says this guy is a surefire bust. Do you really know that? No, you don't. So as long as you're speculating and you admit that you're speculating, all good. There's been 5 or 6 good sources saying Thorne is most likely coming at least for a visit. So what I would like, Leighton, if you could, I don't know if you've got those, you've said 5 or 6, so I'm taking that you've got those listed out. Could you list those here for me? I don't care who they are. List those for me, because I want to know who those 5 or 6 are. I can think of one that has said this guy is likely going to come to Auburn, and it wasn't even a person, it's an entity. And then I can think of about 2 others that have made commentary on top of that news that would indicate they're agreeing with this to some degree, but no one else has said that. So I'd like to know what you're thinking, or who those people are. Peyton Thorne seems to be a big topic right now. Definitely is. Gracie says, I don't know how our O-line will hold up against Georgia LSU D-line. So I like Casey more because he can run, but also like Peyton's arm better. I don't know who I want to choose from. I think you could go either way, right? That's the great thing and the terrible thing about this team this year. The great thing is nobody knows what to expect. The awful thing is we also don't know what to expect. So speculation runs wild. We don't know if we're better served with a more mobile quarterback. We don't know if we're better served with a more pocket presence guy. It could go one way or the other. In my opinion, I don't know how you guys feel about it. We don't know that our offensive line problems are over now that group is gone. It could still be just as bad, if not worse. I'd hate to break it to everybody, but you're bringing together a bunch of transfers and a few holdovers that have yet to play a season together. Who says that it's going to work out? I believe it will, and I hope it does, but there's still a lot to be figured out there. Yeah, so we're working through some of that news here. There's no solid news, and I know that's most people that tune in for just a second of the show, they're coming in to get their one tip. I'm not saying you are, Dale, but tidbit about the thing. Nobody, I think, knows anything right now for sure. Maybe somebody does, but I haven't yet to see anybody definitive say that. Leighton says he's following Auburn football, Rivaldo Fairweather, Elijah McAllister, Omari Kelly. Now, y'all know that I've been a big fan of Elijah McAllister since he came over from Vanderbilt. So if he's following that, man, that's a good sign in my book right there. Michigan State and Indiana are your favorite Big Ten schools. Why is that? Is there a reason behind that? You got like some connection to them? I mean, I've never had any qualms up until today with Michigan State or Indiana. To me, I don't know why I've always said Indiana feels like it's a misplaced state. Everything that I hear about it, that I see about it, there's a lot of ruralness to it and feels like it fits with the Southeast a lot and culture-wise too. So I could see that angle of it if that's what you're talking about, but curious why they see your favorite Big Ten schools. I'm partial to Wisconsin because I've got family up there. And I kind of like the Minnesota thing too, just because they're kind of an anomaly. They've got some cool color schemes and they're Gophers. It's a cool mascot. I don't know if it's cool mascot. It's a unique mascot. Another Purdue fan right here. Now with Imba and Canyon. Makes sense why. Oh, okay. I got you. Oh, great news, Neil. Great news. Thank you for sharing that. Everybody else can wonder what that is about, but thanks for sharing that. That makes me feel a lot better about what's going on in our neck of the woods. Let's see here. A lot of commentary about that now. Neil says, Kyle, my dad was a big Indiana fan due to basketball. I like Michigan State because I've been there many times to watch games. Nice fans. I've known one Michigan State fan. She worked in the same department as me in my former place of employment during that time. And so I came into work that day that Auburn had to have them beat Ohio State and just kind of walked in. I said, I'm forever indebted to you. Noah and WT checking in from two different places. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with us tonight. Great to see so many smiling faces. So don't be shy. Do take advantage of the call-in link. We'll go ahead and mention our friends at All Things Auburn. They do bring in the call-in link to you guys each and every week. Miss Tanya over there is one of the best Auburn people I know. So you should check them out over at allthingsauburn.net. Get you set up for a great place to stay. I would imagine they are booked up for this weekend with graduation, baseball, softball, everything else in between. But there's always a great weekend to come to Auburn because it's Auburn. So check them out for a place to stay at Auburn, but also to have a full and complete Auburn experience. Allthingsauburn.net. Check them out. Okay. So still on the quarterback topic here a little bit, and I'm sure we're going to really revolve around the majority of that tonight. But yeah, it seems like the momentum has shifted towards Thorne. Is he the right fit for Auburn? I think it was Brian Stoltz is his last name I forget who he works for now. But either way, I think he made the commentary, said this is who Hugh Freeze wanted from the get-go when he entered. So if that's I want who Hugh Freeze wants. I want him to get his guy, who he feels good about, because there's a reason that he feels good about him. So if that's it, even if it doesn't check all the boxes that I want, I'm not saying he does or doesn't, then that's who I'm wanting to go with. In Orlando checking in. Nice. So we got two people from Florida checked in tonight. Awesome. I personally thanked a Michigan State grad / friend of mine when they beat O State, which sent Auburn to the beat. Listen, I was thanking them left and right, my friend. They did us a good solid there. All right, we got our first caller tonight, so let's go ahead and pop in and say hello to him. You've seen him a lot around here. You know his face, you know his name. There he is, Mr. Dusty, as I pull him up onto the screen somehow. Hang on there, Dusty. They moved the things around on me, so now I've got you on the screen. There you are.
They switched up StreamYard. I haven't used it in a couple of days.
No, it's something with my Windows. I think I did an update computer, and like it shifts things around, so I have to just go click over one more thing to bring you up. I had brought you up on there. You just weren't showing up on the screen until I said, "Hey." What's going on, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I hope that I didn't even know about that. What Neil was talking about. So, like, prayers to your community, man. And I hope that everybody, y'all's family, just hope everybody's okay. That's wild, dude. I don't understand it. I just don't get it, friend. Well, you know, I was sitting here thinking when you were talking about the Michigan State stuff, with how their fans have been acting. And then
been acting a fool, haven't they?
Yeah, and then you kind of see how the way TJ was treated yesterday, and it's like I've said it on your show a bunch of times, man. It's we live in an Auburn cocoon, so we focus on the Auburn part,
right?
But it's everywhere, dude. Like Auburn, I'm gonna keep saying it. Auburn's actually one of the better fan bases with this. When it comes to treating players and stuff like that, like we are, and then when it comes to the NFL, it's cutthroat, man. It is. Yeah. It is just cutthroat. And I always try to say that because these kids' goal, and I just saw in TJ's in his interview that, to be honest with you, I wasn't a big fan of the interview that he did with Locked On SEC. He talked about wanting to go to the pros and having aspirations. I know that I have one more chance, really, to one more shot to go to the pros. So he was open about wanting to go to the NFL and all that. And man, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it is. This is what it is, and this is what it always has been. And then if you look throughout the world, dude, America's really soft on athletes. The way they treat their soccer players in Europe and stuff, it's just a whole nother level. So I'm not saying it's right, but just there's this narrative out there that like Auburn fans are, we're doing it again. We're actually like on the better side of how we treat players and such. And really I do believe the saying, if you love Auburn, it'll love you back. Like it's performance based. And I'm going to be honest. I judge them a little different now with NIL.
Right.
Now I look at it and say, well, you're getting paid, dude. So some of this criticism, you got to be able to stand. As long as it's within bounds, I mean, that goes without saying.
Right.
About the stuff on the field. And don't go call people out their names, this, that, and the other. But like, it's just one of the things where it's performance based. Like ultimately, why do we love Cadillac? Hey, he's like one of the best running backs we ever had, and obviously he's been very loyal to Auburn and all.
Pretty good, he's all right.
Right, like
I don't have him up on the wall for no reason,
Right, but so that's how you get that status. Obviously, like you got to be that good, and then being as loyal as he's been and all that kind of stuff helps. But a guy like Cam Martin, I'm never gonna forget Cam Martin. Didn't put up the numbers, is never gonna go down as an Auburn grade or whatever, but he was loyal to our team. Like he was loyal to Auburn, and he probably could have went and found a better situation, but he stayed and just did his thing because he wanted to be an Auburn Tiger. So when you see a guy like TJ, who already came from an SEC school and is now leaving again, so the loyalty's not there. And I'm not saying he's not making the right move for him, but just from just from a fan's perspective, the loyalty's not there, and then the performance isn't there. So you're not gonna get a whole bunch of roses and flowers on the way out as well. Now, some people were being ridiculous, some people went a little too far with it, but I didn't say anything, honestly, because to me, it's just okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. One thing I will say about this, though, I will push back on the loyalty thing a little bit because he's exiting the way. And when I say it's the right way to do it, I'm not saying that everybody has to do it this way that wants to leave Auburn. It's a free country. You do what you want to do. Transfer portal's wide open. Nobody's regulating it. You do what you want to do, right? Until they figure out how this thing's actually going to work without, it being the wild, wild west, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But he's leaving as a graduate. And so,
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
he has come from an SEC school, and now he's leaving another one. Who knows where he's going to go at this point. So to me, he'll always, until you pull a Stanley McGlover, yeah, you're good in my book. You're a graduate. You're always going to be an alumni. I look at it a little different, obviously, situations, but it's very similar to the Bo Nix thing. Bo left us for whatever, and obviously the right choice for him, but he's still a graduate. And so while I'm not going to sit there and beat my chest for them, now that they're somewhere else and really focus my time and energy on them, I'm always going to look towards them and celebrate. And so I guess that's where you're talking about some of the response to TJ yesterday about the Twitter stuff, where I get a little bit, ruffle my feathers a little bit, is I see grown men and women saying things that they would never say to a person's face on social media. And I don't think it's so as easily dismissed out of hand to say we're one of the better ones out there. I don't know that we are. I think sometimes the worst of us comes out on social media, and I think it's okay sometimes to cull that a little bit. Now, what you run the risk of is becoming Karens and Kyles. I think that's the male term for a Karen, right?
I've heard Kevin.
Kevin. Well, no, we got Kevin is going to call in a little bit here, so we can't call it a Kevin, but I'll take the blunt for Kevin. So we'll call it a Kyle. So we run the risk of becoming Karens and Kyles on each other, right? So it's really that fine line. Like you said, you saw it, you saw the news, didn't really say anything about it. Not going to sit here and act like the guy was the greatest Auburn net person ever. Why is he leaving? But I'm also not going to sit here and dog the guy. So I think it's a time for you, if you're on social media, to ask the question, what am I accomplishing by saying these things? What am I adding to the value of the Auburn family? Right. Am I representing the creed well enough? Doesn't matter what that athlete just said or did. Like, everybody's listing his sins. What if I started laying all your sins out there on the table for everybody to see too? How would you feel about that? And I'm not obviously talking to you, Dusty. I'm talking just in general.
Right.
But I think it's one of those things that when I see these times roll up, I don't think we should dismiss the culling we need to do of some of our own sometimes, and holding accountable that they are representatives of us as well. But I also think we get some who get a little out of hand, who want to be the police, Karens, Kyles, So yeah. I think it's one of those things. It's just, it is what it is. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, NFL scouts watch this kind of stuff. Like they watch responses to this kind of thing.
They do.
They check everything. But there's a lot of boxes that they don't go unchecked. And what happens is, and this would be my problem if I was an NFL GM in drafting an Alabama quarterback. And this is why when talking about Alabama quarterbacks, I always find it hard to judge them. I don't know about Bryce Young, because you face, and I'm not saying as a person, but just quarterback on the field, you face a lot less adversity than any other person that I'm about to draft. You've got the best line around you. You've been every recruiting class. Don't make me talk about Bama's recruiting class they just signed. Every class that they get is better than the last one. Every year it's the greatest class Bama's ever signed. Every year, bro. They have
annoying, isn't it?
They had a 3. Do you know what their 3-star was this year? You know what their lone 3-star was?
Was it a kicker?
The number 1 kicker in the country.
Yeah.
So, that was their 1 3-star. Everybody else was above. And I mean, you talk about stars on everything, but Josh Pate did a very interesting piece breaking down.
I saw that.
And I thought that was, these guys are getting it's not a perfect science, but they're getting pretty good apparently.
Oh no, yeah. Whenever I see that brought up a lot around this time around the NFL draft, and whether it's him or somebody else bringing that up, and I think it's a really good thing to look at, because I think it puts a lot of perspective when we're sitting here and you see it just as much as I do. The first question some people ask online is, how many stars is he? What does it matter? It doesn't matter. What matters is what he's does he fit what we want to do? Or she, if we're talking about women's athletics, what does it matter? As long as they fit what we need to do, and then how we help them develop. Because you can be a 5-star all you want, and if you just sit there and don't do anything with the time while you're here, which has happened a lot.
Yeah.
Woo, it was a 5-star. It was a 5,
Right.
Right. I would much rather have a 3-star overachieve and have a bunch of those, as opposed to, well, we won the recruiting rankings things. Now I know that's not a perfect, I get it. Like you got to win the recruiting battles. Recruiting's the lifeblood, all that kind of stuff. But it is, like you said, the stars may not be completely accurate, but as people do things, grow, they get a little bit better. And so, do the prognosticators, so do the people who make these things. And so, it's not going to be a perfect science ever, but it is something that I think we as the fans tend to put a little too much stock in sometimes, just as a collective. And his point, I think he kind of makes that point, but he also makes the point of, hey, they're getting better at this too, like you said.
It's you got to have. I mean, you got to have the coaches and the system in place. Does Bo Nix look like a 5-star now?
I wouldn't say a 5-star now. I think he's still, as a Bo Nix fan, I think he's a high 4-star still, in my opinion.
He looks a lot closer to that high school ranking at Oregon than he ever did at Auburn to me. And now I'm seeing projections, several different projections, and he's got to play it out. But again, these things tend up being pretty accurate. Of him being a first-round pick next year. So ultimately, and that's the goal. So what they normally do is they'll give out 32. Most services try to give out 32 5-stars. Sometimes it can differ a little bit because they're trying to guess the first round of the NFL. The picks. And like, I think it was of the guys that just got drafted, 10 or 11 of them were 5-stars, and was it 26 of the 32 from that class got drafted. So it's like you said, man, people get better at stuff, and it's just really interesting to see how all that falls. And shout out to our boy Tank, man, because what a perfect situation I think Tank is in, dude. He gets to sit. He gets to be the number 2 back. He gets to come in good situations. And they have just got a very nice situation there. They've got a quarterback that is going to light the league up for 10 to 15 years. They've got a coach that's already won a Super Bowl ring. He knows what he's doing. And I think that Tank is finally going to get the opportunity to be in some competitive, big time games, and he's going to have some room to run. He's going to have a good system around him. He will not be fighting coaching, and I'm not talking about Cadillac. I'm talking about the systems, just not the offensive line, just not being there. He is finally going to be in a spot where I think you're going to get to see the best of Tank. And I'm excited. Same thing about Colby. Colby's in a very good system. I think his blue collar mindset is the Green Bay fans are going to love that. I think he plays the way that franchise kind of what they embody. So, and it's to go from one guy getting drafted to 5, hey,
man. Can we give Parsons some credit for that?
Dude, I did not see that one, but hey,
I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding. Nobody. Oh, he's praising Arsenal. No. I'm just. I mean, they were his guys for the last 2 years, So it's one of those awkward scenarios where like we're dogging the old head coach, and it's like, well, they did come through his system. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I know you're excited about having another Auburn guy on a Florida team. May not be your Florida team, but
I don't like the Jags. But.
I know, but at least he's in your state, and maybe not too far of a drive for you to go see.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go see him, man. Like, I don't really mind the Jags, man. They're AFC. I wish we played them every year. We're the Dolphins and the Jags are in the AFC. We're in the NFC. So I have much more beef with the Saints, Falcons, teams like that.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely get him out to go right out and see him for sure, man. I'm pumped about that because I want to go see Trevor Lawrence play anyway. The dude's just a real deal, man.
Yeah. Well, if you're just an NFL fan, you're going to hopefully see some good football down there either way. So even if it's not for Auburn guys, take advantage of it if you're that close. All right. Final question for you, sir. Wrap up our time together. Just kind of very briefly, Casey Thompson, Peyton Thorne. Which one is it? Which one is it? Not, and maybe who do you prefer?
I think it's well, I prefer, and how I think it's going to end up being is going to be Thorne, just because if you are, and this doesn't always pan out, but it more times than not it does. If I just feel like, and this is not knowing nothing, because even the people that I ask that do know stuff are like, man, I don't know. So Hugh's playing this one pretty close to the vest, I think. So if there's a burner out there saying he's got sources, I trust me, he don't. Hiding behind a Jabari Smith picture or something saying he's got sources. No, you don't, brother. But I just think that with Thompson, for me personally, and I think too, like for Hugh, the shoulder concerns, And then Robbie has his shoulder issues, right? So do you want your top 2 quarterbacks being guys that you're looking at like, man, we have to, because the shoulder issue popped up again for Robbie this spring, and that's concerning to me. And I don't know, if you have a guy that is a lot healthier than the other guy, hey, and this is when I kind of asked around about it, somebody that I really respect and trust, and then I thought this was a very good comparison. They said, looking at these two, I'm looking at a Chris Todd or maybe a Zach Calzada risk with the shoulder issue with Thompson. And I thought that was a really, really good comparison. And I know your little Chris Todd deal, but man, just hey, but man, like I told you before, go back and look at Chris Todd's stats and tell me you wouldn't take that on this team with Jarquez Hunter. You would. I know you would.
I can tell you I wouldn't take it, but that's because I'm petty.
You wouldn't take those stats?
But
you would take 21 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Listen, there's very few times that I get to be petty. And listen, I play this up now more than anything. I hope listen, if you knew Kyle back in the day when the Chris Todd hate was actually like real, like when he was immature, then yes, but I play it up now, but I still got a little every time I hear the name Chris Todd because of my boy Cody Burns, I'm like, So in reality, obviously I would take the stats. So, it hurts me to say that a little bit though, Dusty.
So yeah, so for me, same deal. The shoulder issues, and I just to close it out, I feel like it was going to be Thompson. You had him in on the visit. That was public knowledge. So I feel like you would have been bang, bang, bang and wrap that up.
Yep.
Because if you wanted it to be Thorne, then you would have brought in Thorne. And then think about this, and appreciate you for having me. Look at the timing. They come in on Sunday. Right there at the end. Well, Thompson was maybe like a day before, whatever, but right there at the end. I'm just telling you, man, that seems to me like Hugh told somebody, hey, listen, I need you to wait this out because I can't have multiple quarterbacks jumping ship on me. He may have been trying to kind of keep holding close to the vest right there. That was kind of my thought when I saw a guy jump in on the last day, and then all of a sudden here we are in the middle of the week, and he's our main target.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting timing. And you can follow the tea leaves however they lay out, so to speak, and find the dots and trace the lines and all that stuff. But the reality is
Twitter followers and whatnot.
Right. We don't know until we actually know, but it's fun to talk about it in the meantime.
I can't wait.
Always good to talk to you, Dusty. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, sir. Where you go, brother?
Where you go, buddy? Right, that was our friend Dusty. Thanks so much to him for calling in. We got another call on the line we're going to take in just a second here. Let me hit some of y'all's comments, though, before we get back to that, because I know it's been a minute since we hit some of those things. Commenting on what Dusty was wearing. I don't know. I'm going to let him handle that one. Neil said he was thrilled that the Packers signed Carlson and Wooden. Did a lot for. I said this somewhere. Where was it? Anyway. I have a history with the Packers in terms of family being in Wisconsin, stuff like that. And they've hurt my heart over many, many years of drafting too many Alabama players of recent. And I know that's petty, but I'm just being honest. And they definitely helped their case with me for a while. It says Bo Nix will go early in the draft. I think let me not backtrack, but when he asked me the question, do I think Bo is playing like a 5-star now? Mainly because I put a high standard on that 5-star thing. I think 4-star is great. And to me, I think he's probably still got to get better in some areas. And when he does that, I think he will do that. He'll hopefully prove us all wrong. Those of us that weren't happy with him when he left Auburn and did the right thing for himself and got in the right situation. Carrie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll get back to some comments and questions here, but let's talk to our friend. We like to hear from him. I like to call him Captain Positivity or Mr. Optimism. There he is, Mr. Kevin. What's going on, Kevin?
Where you go, Cal?
How are you doing, buddy? What's on your mind tonight?
Who's that commitment we got from that pass rusher?
Oh, Jalen McLeod. Yeah, we've spent a whole stream and having, mentioned that we got a commit yesterday. Big one, apparently, from Appalachia State. There's been a lot of highlights circulating on social media, too, about how he and the App State defense did well against Texas A&M last year. while I would also say Texas A&M had a lot of offensive struggles last year, so I don't know if that's the best highlight tape you want to show. But the point still stands is that he clearly was coveted and clearly was ready to step up to, a Power 5 situation. And so we have a spot available for him. Glad to have him here. So an edge rusher of sorts, probably not going to be a traditional linebacker, more of an edge rusher, but he can do probably both of those things if you want him. So another nice addition for Hugh Freeze.
I hope we get that quarterback, Casey Thompson.
You want Casey Thompson over Thorne. Why that is?
Because he got the strongest arm.
You do. So how do you know his arm's stronger?
Because I saw him play one game last year.
Okay, so you saw a few things of him playing a little bit. I haven't watched highlights of either of them. I've said this a lot of times, whether it's high school recruits, transfer recruits, I really don't dive into them until I'm pretty sure that they're going to be here, just because I'm not going to, I say it all way too much in my shows anyway. Y'all don't want to hear that story over and over again. But yeah, I'll look into that and see what his arm looks like once and I think we're pretty close to knowing who's that's going to be. It wouldn't surprise me, Kevin, if he announces while we're live here. Now, it's pretty late in the day to do that, but I've seen stranger things happen. But as far as I know, Casey Thompson's still on the table, so we'll see.
Where's he from?
Casey Thompson he's from Nebraska. As a transfer, and I think he's from Ohio. I could be wrong on that one. Same thing with Michigan State guy. I think he's still from the Midwest, but maybe he's Kentucky. I can't remember, but they're not, from what I understand. Is Casey from Alabama though? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
That'd be something if we get both of them.
You think, well, we don't have a spot for both of them, so we can't, unless someone has entered the transfer portal without me knowing. But Robbie's here. Holden's here. Hank Brown's here. Traditionally, you only have about 4 scholarship quarterbacks, so a fifth one wouldn't make sense. One of them is going to come.
We got 2 walk-ons quarterbacks.
Yeah, so you can have more than you usually. I would say 6 is probably the magic number in quarterbacks, but I tend to see Auburn having 2 walk-on guys, 2 preferred walk-on, or a preferred walk-on, a traditional walk-on. I think one of the guys is a preferred walk-on from like Oak Mountain or something like that in Birmingham. Yeah, so yes, we've got 6 quarterbacks usually, but usually only 4 scholarships.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it this way, in an ideal world, you'd have a senior, a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman all lined up ready to take over. It never works that way. But in a perfect world, that would be the way it goes. They do so well in one year, they go off after they graduate and they stay all year, and then you just have everybody rotate in 1 year. In a perfect world, but it doesn't work that way.
Hopefully we can get some more wide receivers.
Yes, so it's really cooled down on the wide receiver talk right now. And I wonder if that changes once the quarterback situation is figured out. If I'm a wide receiver sitting in the transfer portal and I'm considering Auburn, I like all the other things out there. I hear about Auburn, a new facility, a new coach, a new scheme, excitement on Auburn's just a great place to be. But the one thing that maybe I've been concerned about, not downplaying the quarterbacks that are here now, but what do I think about that? And if there's a new guy coming in that's probably going to take that spot, that maybe excites me a little bit to sign on. So, there's the TCU guy, the Colorado guy, several others out there that were talks of wanting to come play for Auburn or just interested. And so maybe now that will get them over the hump, so to speak.
How about the kicking game?
What about it? You just asking my opinion about it, or you got something in special?
Your opinion about it.
Well, Alex McPherson has got quite a leg. He kicked pretty well during a monsoon of a spring game. He's got a good pedigree. I think we'll be fine. Anders Carlson was so happy to see him get drafted. I was concerned he wouldn't after he, had maybe a rough last 2 years, injuries and otherwise, but I think we're good in special teams. It doesn't feel like we ever have to worry about kickers and punters these days. Maybe punters had a little bit of a dip in some years, but
still got Oscar Chapman.
I know. Isn't it so cool to have the Aussies still in that. That's 2 Aussies in a row, I think, that we've had at punter. So maybe we can continue that trend because it's been pretty successful for us over the last year.
Dusty calls, tell him I said War Eagle.
Well, you tell him right now. Tell him Dusty War Eagle. He's
War
here.
Eagle, Dusty.
If he's still there, I would assume he's still there, but he can go back on the replay and see it. But I will mention that to him the next time we talk. But I wanted you to be able to get it too.
I hope our baseball team wins 3 games this weekend.
Gosh, that would be huge. Huge.
Yeah.
We'll see if it happens. It's tough to do against LSU, but it's going to be a big weekend on the Plains. And I'll be honest with you, I'm fighting real hard the urge to come to town.
What time is the graduation Saturday?
I don't know the specific schedule, but they spread them out over the whole weekend. So you're going to have evening ones, morning ones. Saturday, basically, I think Friday to Sunday. They have so many.
Yeah.
They do. It's changed a little bit since I graduated in 2011, and thankfully so, because ours was we'll get into that some other time. It's a long story for another day, but not really sure. One last question. What you got? One last question from you.
I love the running backs.
You love the running backs. Which one? All of them, or just one particular?
All of them.
All of them. Well, that's a good place to be at right there. We got a special group. Excited to see what they can do in a new system, and maybe with a new offensive line that's got a little bit more success coming their way over this season.
I see you when they play again.
Yep. We'll see that then, and maybe we can see each other this season at Tiger Walk or something like that. All right, buddy.
Yeah. War Eagle.
All right, buddy. Thanks for calling. War Eagle. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, Giorgio or Gregorio, you're on. I didn't mean to bring you on that quickly, but you're here. What's going on, sir?
War Eagle, Kyle.
How are you doing, sir? I mean, I would have given you a little bit more of an introduction than that, but I pushed the wrong button. But welcome to the show.
Yeah. I've been watching the show. Well, I just had to build the courage to call in and just wanted to talk about the quarterback situation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what's so scary about it? Like, you're not the first one to say that too, but what's so scary about, I don't bite.
Just an anxiety.
Oh, I get it, man. Listen, when I started doing this podcasting and all this stuff, I stayed away from cameras. And then finally you couldn't ignore that video was the way to go these days. And it can be nerve-wracking to be on camera. And that's why I'm saying this for everybody else's benefit too. If you guys ever want to call in and don't want to be on camera, you can't. There's the choice there to select either or. But I'm happy I get to see your face. So you wanted to talk about quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you had to choose who it would be. Maybe you've already answered. I just wanted to ask, would you rather have Casey Thompson or Thorne?
I've had myself convinced both ways now. There's a part of me that loves the underdog part of the story that we're not talking about. The guys that are still here, Robbie, Holden, Hank's just getting here, so he's really not part of the equation. That kind of wants to see them beat the expectations that a transfer is going to come in and take the starting job. But to directly answer the question, if this was the offensive line of last year, I would say Casey Thompson. I don't know what this offensive line is going to look like outside of the individuals that are going to be out there. I don't know how they're going to play together as a unit, because if some of the individuals that played over the last few years together, you looked at them individually, you'd be like, oh yeah, we got a pretty good offensive line, but for whatever reason didn't mesh. Coaching, whatever reason. With that not known, it's really wide open for me. And I've been kind of swayed today that maybe Patrick Thorne I keep saying Patrick Thorne. Why do Peyton Thorne? I don't know why that is. Might be the way to go. And, Hughes had a lot of success with more mobile quarterbacks. Malik Willis is that prototypical one that we all point to from his time at Liberty. But that doesn't mean he can't have success with guys that are a little bit less mobile. So if that's reportedly what some media entities out there have said, that this is the guy that Hughes been waiting on, then that tells me something. He must be really special despite being less mobile. I don't know how less mobile, but less mobile than a Casey Thompson, because that's the big upside I kept hearing about Casey. So I would say if you got to push me for an answer, I'm probably on the Thorne side of the equation, but just barely right now. I'll be happy with either one. What about you?
Uh, I'm a pretty big Robbie Ashford truther.
Mhm.
I think Dylan is really high, so I think he could be great. But if I had to choose between the two, I think Casey Thompson would fit the scheme better.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, well, Nebraska didn't win many games with them." But if you look at it that way, I think it was more of a Scott Frost scheme thing because,
Right.
I mean, last season when we fired Brian Harsin, we could before we fired him, we couldn't run the ball for nothing.
Right.
Fire him, and
Yeah.
look, run 300 yards on Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's funny how those things work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we make these overarching judgments on players and we don't look at the whole picture, and I think people are finally, at least openly, starting to have this conversation more about the quarterbacks the last couple of years. Have they had their best moments at Auburn? Clearly not. But has it been wholly their fault? No. Has a lot of it been their own fault? Bo couldn't stay still in the pocket, save his life. You understand why, but at some point you got to overcome and know what you're dealing with in that situation. He made the choice to leave and has been very successful for him. Robbie has his legs, which are very good, and helped him kind of be a little bit more elusive and work within what we were able to provide him, which was very little protection. TJ didn't move very well at all, but he was a statue and he would get hit. There were a few times he got hit in the back and you'd just see him kind of bend a little bit, but then stay up. And I was like, well, that's one way to do it. So yeah, I don't know. I also, like you, as I said, I like the underdog part of this, and that's what the guys who are here are kind of becoming in this narrative. So I tend to start putting my eggs in that basket, at least in my heart. So that's where my, I guess, allegiance will always kind of be right now. But if you push me to that and this or that, I'm going to probably find myself just this side on Thorne, and that could change tomorrow. I think we've got two decent options to work with here. What I want is for Hugh Freeze to have the guy that he feels can have the success this year, because truthfully, these guys are here for 1 year guaranteed. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a good thing, to be honest, that Alabama ended up getting Buckner, because if not, these two quarterbacks would probably be eyeing Alabama more than Auburn just because of
no, I get it. Definitely.
Kind of worked.
It pains me to admit it, but you have 1 year to play. Your goal is to win a championship. Who's better set up to win a championship this year? It's just Alabama right now, given the nature of what Auburn's going through. Now, I will submit to you Auburn's history, and we can win a championship at any moment, or play for one at any moment. But if you want a more sure thing, you would, in that scenario, you're right, you would go to Alabama. And I think it's fine to admit that, as much as I can feel the vomit rising up in my throat right now, just admitting that, but it's the reality of the world that we live in. So yeah, I'm about ready for this quarterback situation to be finalized so we can have move on to different speculation, shall we say, because right now the speculation, who's it going to be? Now the speculation can be who's going to start type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just ready. I'm ready for the season. I wish football was every day.
Yeah, I do. I do too, which is great because now we've got these spring leagues. And even though I don't make them regular appointment television, it is really nice to turn them on and then see Auburn guys over there. Sal Cannella is making, a name for himself in these, I'll call them the minor leagues of pro football, and doing very well. It's not really sticking at the NFL when he gets those opportunities, but when he gets to these teams, I mean, I was watching I guess he's on the Roughnecks in the XFL, whichever team he's on now. And there's Sal Cannella again, catching a pass. So if you're a guy like you, and I agree too, I would prefer football be year round. You've got opportunities to kind of find some connection to Auburn, even in these minor leagues, so to speak. So I get the sentiment, though. I'd love it too.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think either way, though, whoever our quarterback is, I think we could at least win more than 5 games this year, especially if you look at our running back room. I mean, I think 3 of our running backs could rush for 1,000 yards each season. Not in the same, if there's only one of them, they're all good. You got Jarquez Hunter. Jarquez Hunter could rush for 1,500. I feel like he's that. Damari Alston could rush for 1,000.
Could, yeah.
How Cobb's going to turn out.
Yeah, and I would also add this part of it too. even if it's not Jarquez running for 1,500, he can get 1,500 all-purpose yards pretty easily if they utilize what he's shown he's capable of doing as a traditional running back, but also being utilized out of the backfield in a passing scheme. I mean, he's caught some beautiful wheel routes that have just gone for big yardage. I think maybe one for a touchdown too. So I think the comment was made by a Mississippi State fan today on Twitter, amongst all the other, hubbub that was going on about quarterbacks and stuff. And I think his comment was, don't worry, guys, this guy can't, and talking about Thorne, can't win without a top 10 running back. And I said, well, it's a great thing that we've got one then. And so, yeah.
Top 5 running back room in the country, to be honest.
I think it's easy for us to look at that and see that. And I think that's not us just with our orange and blue glasses on. I think if people are outside looking in, they're not going to see that initially. But I think once we get on the field, if the offensive line is improved and provides just a basic, help for them, they're going to shine. Their skill sets are going to come through. Jarquez is so versatile. Damari seems like this little bowling ball of fury. It's very similar to Sean Shivers, with maybe a little bit more, I don't know, I'm going to say muscle, but seems to be a little bit bigger than him. Brian Body seems to be like a little speed demon. And then who knows what Jeremiah Cobb's going to end up being. So you throw all that in there. Jamarian Fat's coming in a year after that. There are a few areas in Auburn football I am not concerned about currently and for the future. That is tight end. Well, tight end more currently. Wide receiver, running backs, wide receivers, like what we do need to still kind of be worried about. And then, frankly, I'm not so worried about the quarterback of the future. Currently, I'm worried about it, but I am, seeing where we're heading if a Walker White works out the way we all expect him to. So there's a lot of reasons to be, happy about a lot of the different rooms on Auburn's football team currently and in the future.
Well, I think that's all I've got tonight, Kyle.
Awesome. Well, it was a great call. Please don't be shy in the future. Call in whenever you want. Love to see some new faces every once in a while.
All right, War Eagle.
War Eagle. See you, man. All right, we got another caller in here. Let me just run through here. Brian says, take it back. What did I say? What did I say, Brian? This winter, my man. I don't know what I said. It's finally warm up here. Just letting us all feel that he is up in Minnesota dealing with actually what is going to be a true winter here. And I am not that intimidating. I like to think that I am. Leighton says that he thinks Derek Hall is apparently a perfect fit for how the Seahawks use their edge pass rushers. I hope so. I think the world of that guy, and I just want success for him. And the same goes for all of our guys. But I got a really good feeling about a lot of our draftees, free agent guys this year. Maybe I'm not saying that they're all going to have long careers and stuff like that, but just there's a couple of these that really feel like they were good fits this year. And that's what you really want to have. Darius Slayton finding the New York Giants was a good fit. And now look what he's been doing over the last few years. Not a superstar, but he puts together a highlight almost every other week in the NFL. And so that's what you really wish for that. All right. So we got our next caller in. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's what you were getting on me about. I understand. All right. We got our next caller in. Let's go ahead and say hello to him. You know him. You love him. Mr. Thomas Manville. What's going on, sir?
War Eagle, everybody. How are y'all tonight?
I'm doing well. I think everybody else is doing pretty well. I think we all are sitting on pins and needles waiting for a particular announcement, as we've been discussing a lot tonight. Any thoughts on it?
When it comes to Thompson versus Thorne, I mean, one of them's got 1 year left, one of them's got 2 years left. So what's the better fit for Hugh Freeze, the rest of the team, what the coaching staff wants to do, who they can develop, who's going to fit in his system that we know nothing about at this point. But Thompson was at Nebraska and Texas. So he started at Texas, then went to Nebraska. This would be his third team. I'm not knocking the kid, but if I have to pick one, I'd take Thorne. But I really, be honest with you, I'm not high on either one of them. But if you're going to make me pick, I'll take Thorne.
And that's kind of how I feel about it too. And that's not a diss at one or the other. It's just one of these things where let's all take it back to Caleb Williams last year. Remember all the hype around Caleb Williams, the quarterback out of wherever he went to Oklahoma to, obviously won the Heisman this year, so it worked out. That was clearly everybody knew what this kid was going to be. And so you all, you want to be all in on that, and you're really looking to bring that in. And that's not a knockdown on these two guys, but this doesn't feel like that situation to me. This feels like we are trying to find the best for the circumstance that we're in, that meshes for the circumstance that a quarterback needs at this point. If there's a guy that's got 1 year left and can help us become more competitive this year, because I still think we'll be competitive, then that's the best fit. If he fits the scheme and all those things that we want to do, then yeah, bring him in. Now, you said one's got 1 year and the other's got 2 years. Clarify which that is for me, because I thought both had 1 year, with 2 being the COVID year for both of them.
From what I understand, Casey Thompson has 1 year of eligibility left, and Peyton Thorne has 2.
Okay,
so
and that's counting COVID.
As far everything I've read today, that's what I've come up with. So that's what I'm basing it off of. Don't quote me, but if that's the case, I like having Thorne come in a little bit more than I like Thompson, because we can't just band-aid a quarterback and get 9 wins and then nobody to develop, not have anything come in, and suffer a 7-win season after that.
Yeah,
we just do that. So we need consistency to be able to progress, as far as I'm concerned, at the quarterback position. So,
I'm a big fan of consistency, and it's,
if you got to pick one, I guess I got to go with Thorne, because he's got 2 years to come in, and does he play and do fairly well his first year? Sure, let's get 8-9 wins. Can he bump it up a step and get to 10 wins? Then that was your guy to bring in. But I don't want to bring in somebody for 1 season and go and just be great and then have a drop off. I'd like to have some kind of consistency, but I'm not knocking them, but I just don't want either one of them. I think there's another option out there, or we're just going to have to take one of them. And I don't think we know everything yet. I don't think we know who everybody that Auburn's talked to during this. This is what's in the news today, so we're having to kind of pick and choose.
Yeah, definitely. I think this one, to me, it feels a little bit unique to most quarterback situations where we're all, sitting on pins and needles waiting to see. Not that there's not excitement about either of these guys. I think there is excitement with anything new, but I think we all recognize there is a spot that needs to be filled. And with that, you don't want to leave that open, right? You want to fill that spot that's now available. But really, what we went back to in the last thing that we talked about, what is the best fit for Auburn overall, whether that means as a starter or otherwise, because, we had the whole Zach Calzada situation last year, and, we can go roundabout about that, but we're all going to know here probably pretty soon. I would bet within I'm hoping the next day or so, maybe a few days, maybe a week. I would imagine he wants to get his guy in really quick. We did have a question for you. Dusty wants to know your thoughts on McLeod, spelled the other way, but yes, the edge pickup. What's your thoughts on him?
So Jalen McLeod, 6'1", 230, coming from App State, from the DC area. Man, this kid's got a motor. Like, once he gets going, it's on. So I'll give you 3 former Auburn players that he reminds me of after watching about 4 hours of whatever I could find on him. Jeff Holland, D. Ford, Carl Lawson. I'm not saying he's that guy, but he has attributes that he has shown on tape that are reminiscent of those guys. Maybe Jeff Holland in size. He didn't make every single play, but when he did make a play, he made somebody look stupid, and he took the ball from somebody, or it was a tackle for loss or a sack. D. Ford, in just that he never quits. There was no quit in that guy. And he still, he had a motor. I played against D. Ford in high school when he was a freshman. He was a little squishy, but he was still serious. Like, he never quit for a second. He doesn't even know what the word break means.
Right.
And then Carl Lawson, in the way that mentally he played the game.
Yeah.
We watched Carl Lawson is he would start that pass rush and then stop change, do something, make the offensive tackle look stupid, and then get a sack, or, happen to grab a quarterback when he's scrambling. But this dude's got those intangibles, and he's a little undersized. But if you go back and watch his highlights against Texas A&M, or just go watch the Texas A&M App State game, he took that right tackle and he threw him like a wash rag, just like a wet wash rag, and then caused 2 fumbles on the same play, and they got him back. Why would I not want this guy to come to Auburn?
Right,
He's
right.
going to be a dog. I don't think he's playing every single down on defense, but he's absolutely going to be a dog. He is going to take somebody off their wheels, and linemen especially. If you're off balance, you're vulnerable. And maybe this guy's a little undersized, but he might push right through you. He might snatch you down. You can cut block him, and he rolls off of you, takes your lunch money, kisses your sister, and makes a tackle. I can't wait to see him on Saturday, man. I really can't. I'm so pumped up at this dude.
That is not the analogy I thought I'd get tonight, but I'll take it. That was a good one. So what I think about this guy and just the edge rusher position in general, and whether we're talking edge rusher, traditional defensive end, it feels like Auburn has had a history of bringing in a guy, getting them developed, and by the time they're a junior or senior, they're superstars, and they end up getting drafted and stuff. Like, you go back to Derek Hall, Carl Lawson, Jeff Holland, maybe not as much in terms of the draft and thing, but what's that?
Jeff Holland one more year.
He did. But it feels like we've had that trajectory, right? So now that Derek Hall has moved off, who's going to be that next guy? Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe if you go by perception, Keldrick Falk's going to be that guy someday, and he's a freshman coming in. He'll play, but I'm sure he'll not play as much as some seasoned guys like a Jalen McLeod and Elijah McAllister. So, right, what you've got, I think, is a very special 2 guys right there, and Elijah McAllister, now Jalen McLeod, 2 experienced guys, one SEC experience, one's had mid-major experience, but still seems like he's ready to step up and produce at this level.
And he was all Sun Belt. He was all Sun Belt.
Yep. So if you're going to take people from the mid-majors, you want to take the best of the best, right? So this feels like that scenario. So I think it is one of those transfer pickups that's just not because we have a space and somebody wants to take it. This one feels like, oh, we got to have this guy. Like this is in our wheel. It's kind of the same thing you heard Bruce Pearl talking about Chaney Johnson of Alabama Huntsville when we played him this year in basketball. And then if you saw the quotes, I think it was last week, where he was like, how is this guy playing here and not, at a major conference and stuff like that? And so he is now. But so, yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about with him. I think, whether he's here 1 year, I think he's got 2 years of eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. 1 year with a potential COVID year, I think is what I said in that video. So maybe in a perfect scenario, here's what happens in my mind. Jalen McLeod comes in, has a pretty decent year, meets expectations, maybe considers going to the draft, maybe, but stays and then lights it up for that 1 extra year and gives these young edge rushers this position that we're building back up towards another long-term superstar who's been here forever. That could be a really good scenario for that position at Auburn.
I pretty much agree with that. I'd like to see specialty situation player this year and complete takeover next year. I think he's got it in him.
Yeah,
he's got a gear that most folks don't have. Yeah, some of y'all that are around me and your age will remember David Pollock when he played at Georgia.
Oh, I remember David Pollock.
He was undersized and was an absolute menace. The dude started as a freshman at defensive tackle at 6'2", 247. Like, you don't do that in the SEC. Then he moved to N, and he changed how that position was played on the edge. Now, that was old school football, and that this guy's a linebacker coming down to play edge or jack in our system. And Ron Roberts has said that the jack is incredibly specific to his defense.
Yeah.
So they got the guy that they think can make that difference, because we went through the spring with a couple of guys. Some guys left. We appreciate your time, Dylan Brooks. I really wanted you to be the guy, but it didn't work out that way, and I wish you the best.
Yeah.
But we went and got another guy that they're real high on. And, man, if you watch his tape, this dude's serious. He's a dog already. So let's feed him.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of upside, it seems like, to the first of the spring transfer portals. We'll hopefully be talking about future transfer portal guys at whatever position that is here soon. And hopefully it'll seem like some pretty good fits and upsides because, I think Auburn is, and Coach Freeze has kind of prepared us for this. This is a year it could go either way. You should expect always, not just because we're Auburn fans, but because Auburn is capable of this, an 8-4 season. But let's adjust and see what happens. When you start bringing in pieces like this, Jalen McLeod, and you start bringing in maybe a quarterback that can make a difference, start bringing in a few other pieces. You never know what happens. So you get that special feeling, a little bit more advantageous schedule at home this year. If a 2021 Auburn team under Coach Harsin can nearly take the Alabama Crimson Tide down at home, surely a first-year team under Hugh Freeze and a more productive and a speculatively better offense, probably reality too. What do you think they can do? Now, obviously, there's more than just offense in the game, but I think there's a lot of the good feelings are starting to return to the football program, which we've needed for quite some time. So
yeah,
it's been good.
You're right.
Real quick, last prediction for you: will the Eagle fly good at the baseball game?
Of course it will.
I was going to kick you out if you didn't answer the right way. That's extending. We haven't even talked about that tonight, but happy to. Anytime we can get the Eagle flying around is a good thing. We'll have to have you back on another, Wednesday night. I'm sure we'll be having some things to talk about pretty soon here and get your opinions on new players. But as always, it's good to hear from you.
Thank you. War Eagle, everybody. Y'all have a good evening.
Good to hear from you, Thomas. Thanks for being here. All right, folks, we are sitting right at 9 o'clock or after 9 o'clock. So if you would like to, I'll leave the phone line open for one more minute or two. If there's anybody that's kind of sitting there thinking, hey, I want to call in, but it's kind of like Gregorio said earlier. It's a little bit intimidating. I get that. You don't have to be on camera like these guys have been, but if you've been thinking about it, sit on it. Take advantage of it. I'll leave it open for like one more minute. If somebody calls in the next minute or two, we'll take your call and keep going. But if not, we'll start kind of winding down our time here. I'll go back through some of your comments here and see if there's anything we haven't hit. Anybody excited about the fact that the Eagle is flying at the baseball game? How has this never happened before? How, I ask you. The big question I have is, where is it flying from? Is it flying from the upper deck up there down? That would make the most sense to me, but that may not be what's best suited for the Eagle. The big green monster wall is another one that probably makes sense for it to fly from. All that stuff. Probably a few other places they could fly from, but I am fighting really hard the urge to go to Auburn this weekend and witness that for myself. And it's going to be a busy weekend on campus. All right, let's look at some of your comments and questions to wind down. McLeod will bulk up in Auburn's strength and conditioning program. Probably so, but I would imagine he has been in college athletics enough. Usually your bulking up happens a lot in your first or 2 years. I can speak to not as a football player, but just in general. You kind of are done with the puberty part of the thing, and now you're just kind of bulking up at that point. I think, yes, he can obviously improve, but I think not probably significant leaps and bounds. I could be wrong, but maybe so. From the parking deck to the grass. That's where he's going to fly from. Anders Carlson being drafted by the Packers is going to ensure the Carlson brothers continue to haunt the Vikings for a long time. War Eagle to Anders. Yes, very happy for that guy. And if he becomes the kicker after Mason Crosby is done at the Packers, if he's still there, I think that'll be a good thing for a while. There's not a guy that I think I'm more happy for in this draft than Anders, because I really was worried he wasn't going to get picked up. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a drafted kicker yet again for the Auburn Tigers. Let's see here. Mississippi State was as bad as Auburn last season. We had a good year in 2021, but took a step backwards last season. The guy from Nebraska is more consistent and fits Freeze's offense better. Weakest link, I don't know if you're still here. I would agree with you only on speculation alone. And I'm not trying to dismiss what you're saying here, but I think that's based on a lot of speculation and not stuff that we actually know. And most of this is all speculation anyway. Certainly am using that word a lot tonight, am I? But, you know, we're all going to have our opinions about who's the best fit here. It's why I've kind of waffled back and forth. I'm just kind of ready for it to be done, to be honest with you. All right, we're going to close down the phone lines. Thank you guys so much for utilizing that tonight. Good amount of callers. I know that this is all starting to get people excited again to be talking Auburn stuff. So it's good to see a crowd here. All right, final comments and questions. Get them in right now. Rapid fire. We'll hit them at the end there. A couple reminders for you. Do not miss our next scheduled live stream. Always be subscribed, always be following so you know anytime we've got content for you. But for our next scheduled live stream here on YouTube, if you actually stay at the end of the stream, you can head straight over. It'll take you right over to the waiting page for that. You can go and hit the like button, the notify me bell. I know it seems silly to do that, but it's actually a huge help for us. If you can do that, if you plan on joining us for the episode 34 live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, Sports, Culture, Family with Austin and myself this Sunday at 9 Eastern time. You could be a subscriber. You could be a channel member for $1 a month here on YouTube. But if you're not on YouTube and you just want to take the next step and join the Booster Club for $1 a month or higher, different perks at different levels, you can do that. All those links in the descriptions are ways that you can help support us. Our t-shirts on YouTube, they're listed here. Anything you can do is a huge help. But the biggest thing we ask you to do is just to be here. Call in, drop comments, watch the videos, follow us on social media, all that. If you're not following us on Instagram, do that for us. That's a big help right now. We're trying to hit 1,000 Instagram followers because there are things that happen in 1,000 that we need. So tell your friends about us on Instagram. That if I'm going to give you one call to action tonight, create an Instagram account, not a fake one, but like if you haven't had one, go ahead and create one just so you can follow the E2C network. All right. That's all the stuff that I have for you. Have we mentioned Buc-ee's? No, that's 2 shows in a row. We haven't mentioned Buc-ee's. I'm doing better, right? Just to answer this generically, we don't know. Could go either way at this point. It feels like it's going to be Thorn, though, kind of the way it feels at this point. You can see Thomas using the icons that channel members get to use there. And yes, you do have to make one now just to follow us on there. A lot of there's going to be similar content on there, but sometimes there's some different things. Grandma always said, boy, why you keep running on Bobby Pierce. That's funny. That's funny. Going to the baseball game. Fun stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing all the great things that are coming from campus because I don't plan on being there, but fighting the urge. Who knows? Maybe I'll just go on a whim. But anyway, thank y'all so much. Good show. Good crowd tonight. You guys are always the best little family within the Auburn family. Hope you'll be here next week for another Auburn family live stream here at 8 p.m. Eastern time. If not, 9 on Sunday night for the Auburn Experience podcast live recording. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Wouldn't miss this show this night every week, you guys in general, because this is a lot of fun to hang out with you guys. Until I talk to you again, though, War Eagle.